Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reasonably Happy. My guest this week is Craig Newmark. You have used his services before when you have gone on the site Craigslist.org. Most importantly, Craig is now involved in allocating the resources he earned by creating Craigslist through the Craig Newmark Philanthropies organization. And I'm thrilled to have you here today, Craig. Thanks for doing this.
I'm thrilled that you have me here today.
Well, thank you. We're going to start where we always start. Where and when do you find yourself the happiest?
I'm happiest when I'm fully engaged with something. This is either in my nonprofit activities when I can see something's having an effect. Otherwise, personally, sometimes it's time spent with the wife. Often it's just fully engaged in maybe some entertainment I love. I read a great deal. I love TV and watch a great deal of it. So it's those kind of things.
Yeah.
This weekend, it was playing with toddlers.
I hope you know these toddlers.
I do know these toddlers.
Okay, that's good.
They're related. And I'm finding that they love the SpongeBob voice.
Oh, nice.
And while I'm undignified, I gave up dignity long ago.
There you go. What are your favorite television programs these days?
Boy, I don't keep a good track of them. There is Alien Earth, which is great. Coming up, there's Slow Horses for All Mankind. A Secret, which is not my favorite, but I really do like Beavis and Butthead.
That was one of my favorites.
They're not role models. I think they started a new season last night, if you could only figure out where to find them.
Yeah. It's on Paramount, probably, right?
Let's say they're doing a good job of hiding it.
Okay. All right. Okay, so when you confirmed this interview, I was so excited because Craigslist, for somebody that worked in the internet from 1997 on, I was like, well, Craigslist was this thing that was a very important part of the culture of and the developing reliance on the online world to live our lives. But for people who are maybe under 35 or 30 who might not be as familiar, what is Craigslist and where did the idea come from?
Craigslist is a classified ad site. You go there to do your everyday business, sometimes finding a place to live, sometimes getting a table to help fill in the new place to live, sometimes to put bread on that table. The deal is it's focused on the mundane, the stuff that people got to do every day to get through the day. Its big contribution, aside from helping tens of millions of Americans, is it also showed tens of millions of Americans 30 years ago that the internet is potentially useful and also reasonably easy to use. What's different is that we have a minimal monetization policy. We're not trying to extract every dollar we can out of the thing. Given that, though, it's been much more financially successful than I ever thought it would be. That gives me the problem that I have a lot of money that I don't feel right about, so I'm giving it away.
I really look forward to talking about that. But before we dive into the philanthropy and the process by which somebody does that, I wonder what did the world look like before Craigslist? How were people solving problems that Craigslist helped them solve eventually?
People would use newspaper classifieds.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes those classified ad booklets of all sorts of things, and they were pretty expensive, fairly ineffective, and from what I hear from people and in my own experience, it was just easier for people to give up in many cases. Where I live in San Francisco, what people would normally do would they would leave stuff out on the sidewalk for people to take.
Right.
And even when Craigslist was a thing, my wife and I would sometimes do that if the sidewalk was heavily trafficked and we were leaving out good stuff.
Yeah. Presumably that people would see value in it and take it away.
Yes.
So before Craigslist, to list a car for sale or a table or something, you'd have to either go down to the newspaper office or to the auto trader office or call some phone number. and give them your credit card and read out what you wanted
Yeah.
your classified ad to say, and you were charged by the word or the letter or something like that.
Yeah. And a real problem for everything was that it was difficult to get an ad taken down. So if your ad was going to run a full weekend, you would be getting calls way beyond what you need.
And your ad would run in a specific geographical location. So if I'm in New York looking to move to San Francisco, I can't. I've got to get the San Francisco Chronicle, the physical paper somehow, to find apartment listings.
Yeah. One thing about Craigslist was that if you were moving from a different part of the country, even when you were just planning, you could check things out. And that ain't bad. Moving to a whole new place is tough. And any help in terms of what's going on. And you could sometimes get an idea of what's going on in a place by looking at the ads, like for sale or the events notices, those kind of things.
What was your goal for starting Craigslist?
When I started,
fortune and fame? Were you looking for riches and worldwide renown?
mostly after around a couple of years in San Francisco, I realized that a lot of people had helped me settle into the town, usually via the early internet, like the Well or Usenet news groups. And I figured I should reciprocate, and I should start a mailing list telling people about what I thought was good. And that worked out. People really wanted to hear about stuff. I was giving back to the community, and I was connecting to people more, which, given my limited social skills, was really good. And the thing just kept growing through word of mouth.
Your intentions, as I've done research for this conversation, your intentions were entirely benign.
Okay.
And one of sort of democratic. The internet was a democratic place in its early days, where a few short years later, the whole subtext of the internet was start a company, make millions of dollars, retire, and live the good life.
Back then, there was this sense we'd all use the internet to make life better for everyone. It's like we wanted everyone to have nice things. But enormous amounts of money started pouring in, so that attitude, that perspective never disappeared, but it was kind of drowned out by people who wanted to make a lot of money. I'm not criticizing that. I believe that everyone should have a shot at making a lot of money, but there's good ways to do it, and then there's sometimes predatory ways to do that.
Yeah, it's interesting that I think, and this is my theory from the outside looking in. I wonder, since it's your life and your journey, if you would agree with me. But it seems to me that you may have made a lot more money by not trying to make money than you would have if your goals were short-term financial optimization.
All I know is what I was told in the past in '99, and now more recently. Back in '99, when I realized I had to make the Craigslist into a real company. And I'd been socializing with bankers and VCs at various industry events and parties.
Because they'd seen the growth of the platform,
Yeah.
and you can't. They're always looking for a deal to do.
Yeah, they were looking for something to throw money at.
Mm-hmm.
So they told me if I did the usual thing, they would throw enormous amounts of money at me, and I would lose control of it, and they would monetize it every way possible. And they were talking about billions. And I decided that didn't feel right. My moral compass in this regards was set in Sunday school, like 50 years before that, by my Sunday school teachers, Mr. and Mrs. Levin, who were Holocaust survivors.
Mm-hmm.
They taught me to know when enough is enough. So I'm figuring at that point, as a software guy, I was making more money than I needed. I could even help out my family to be comfortable. So I said, no, we're going to monetize minimally, like posting for job ads. And that worked out well. Recently, a guy made a really good educated guess as to what I turned down. and he guessed 11 billion.
11 billion in total market cap or in personal wealth to you,
Well,
I think?
I think personal, but the same as market cap
Yeah.
because it was all mine.
Sure.
I did wind up giving away equity because, again, I see that, and this is like Scott Galloway says, power corrupts, money can make you stupid. And I wasn't that smart then, but that's what I kind of intuited. And now I see that money, too much money is not good for most people. And people with a lot of money are more often miserable than happy. And I am not miserable. I am, as I've often said, reasonably happy.
I like it.
And that's not just me sucking up, given the title of this podcast, but that's as good as it gets because there's always something.
Yeah.
For example, this morning I had to struggle to make my Omni card work again. It did work on the way here. So that was disheartening, but everything else is going reasonably well.
I feel seen when you say that. Not everybody understands why I call the podcast Reasonably Happy. Feel free to get your water for sure.
That may be an illusion, but humans, we thrive on our illusions.
I can just see, I find it funny to think about you and your Omni card doesn't work, you showing it to the attendant and saying, "Do you know who I am? I'm Craig of Craigslist."
Let's say that I've never learned or felt comfortable with doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I do like using the technologies. I do that in both New York and San Francisco. It amuses me greatly that I now have senior cards.
Oh, funny. But you know what I mean by my assertion is that in '99 you could have taken money at some crazy valuation, and then from a VC, and then they would have pushed you into either going public or being acquired by some conglomerate, right? Where they would have pushed you to the side and said, "We know how to run this thing better than you are," and they would have turned it into the digital equivalent of whatever was working on newspaper. It wouldn't have been as successful, and then it would have been acquired multiple times, and now it would be some division of Kellogg, this or that. And it wouldn't still exist, and it wouldn't have had 25 years of run rate that you've actually benefited from financially. And benefit being a relative term.
Yeah. The deal is that there's nothing pious or altruistic about it. This was just me doing what felt right based on what I heard from Mr. and Mrs. Levin.
Yeah.
The deal is that they also taught me that I should treat people like I want to be treated, which is a big part of my moral compass.
Yeah.
And they reminded me the ninth commandment says that bearing false witness or lying is wrong, which is a dangerous position to take some days, particularly when one is being attacked by professionals. But they set my compass, to be very fair to them. The Forward, a traditional Jewish newspaper, did the research and found that they escaped in Lithuania from the Holocaust. Mr. Levin jumped from a speeding train, not normally a good idea, but it was taking him to a concentration camp. So that was pretty smart.
Wow.
But I never knew that.
Wow. Another thing I found fascinating about your journey, and this seems self-aware and wise beyond most people's ability to act, is that you hired an outside CEO. You hired a CEO because you've determined that you weren't a great manager.
Yes, as back in 2000, well, back in '99, towards the end, I realized that as a manager, I suck. So I hired a Jim Buckmaster who's done the job.
Yeah.
I stepped down to become a full-time customer service rep, and I'm a great customer service rep. And I did that pretty intensely for around 15 years. At the end of that, I realized the team did not need me, but the nonprofit world did need me because I realized that I could do a really good job with that, even though I didn't know what I was doing.
What was the balance of interaction like between you and the CEO when you own the company, or you're the majority stakeholder presumably, and he works for you, but you're 3 levels down the org chart from him?
The commitment I made was that he ran the company. I would not interfere.
And did you ever have any run-ins along those lines?
Nothing like that. We had crises where I was involved because I had to learn a really tough lesson. That is, when I'm confronted by someone who lies for a living, I'm going to lose every time. That's still true. I have a lot more training to deal with that. Usually it involves preventing problems or sidestepping them. But the deal is that an honest person, with very rare exceptions, is never any match for someone who is a professional liar. And they exist, and they're paid a lot of money, and they have no scruples. They cause a lot of suffering, and that's very frustrating because I'm really good at some things, but I'm really terrible at others.
Do you lack ego?
No, I have a substantial ego, but I've learned a lot about my limitations. I've learned when to stop talking. I've learned to defer things to others. When it comes to the nonprofit world, I realized that I have no skills in that direction, but I had a lot of people I could talk to who could help me get a lot smarter in a hurry. And as a result, my nonprofit world approach is that I've built a network of networks of people who are very smart, very effective in areas that I care about. I've narrowed those areas that I care about because of my limitations, both in terms of skills and resources. And, the nonprofit world consumes my time.
So where are you percentage-wise in terms of giving away your net worth?
Right now, in terms of committing it, in terms of committing it, putting it into my nonprofit foundations, it's at 100%.
Oh, wow.
I want, because of the thrust of this interview, to be clear, all that money's in things like 501c3, 501c4. And of that, I'm guessing I've spent maybe 2/3. I've kept some to last me over the next 5 to 20 years.
Personally?
Yes.
You got to pay your rent still.
Well, no, the rent money and all that is separate.
Yeah.
So I've kept some for myself, but I've put all my Craigslist equity into a 501c4. I did that going on 3 years ago, and I'm giving it away. I've done some planning in my 2 big areas for the next 5 years. Those areas are military families through Blue Star Families, vets through the Bob Widger Foundation, and cybersecurity with I've built quite a network there. A big part of that is the Aspen Institute, but there's also things like the consortium of cyber clinics. There's the Cyber Resilience Corps, because cybersecurity is a really big deal.
Yeah. So it's publicly reported that you've given away hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yes.
Okay. So when you decided that it was your life's work was to stop being a customer service rep at the company that you founded, and that it was time to start determining how to put that money to work for good, what was that process like? Did you take a step back and say, here's this big thing, how can I use it to make the world better?
Yes. The concept from that Sunday school is tikkun olam, repairing the world.
That's a Hebrew phrase.
Yes. So what I did is I started doing some things that made sense to me when people approached me. But then I started talking to people a lot more, and then a lot more. Over time, I took a look at what's happening in our country and tried to help, and then help more.
When you said you talk to people, do you mean other people who were ahead of you on the philanthropy journey?
I spoke to people who were actually getting things done. That is, I had a sense that as a country, we owed a lot more to veterans. And I had a sense that when it came to computer security, our country as a whole was dangerously vulnerable to hostile foreign military.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, usually slowly, because I'm not all that smart, I learned more and more about these areas. And now and then, I would learn even more. My most recent big learning was that part of cybersecurity should be scam fighting. Now, I had been doing scam fighting at Craigslist for 25 years.
I bet you have been, yeah.
But I realized I should add it to my problem domain, so I should get really good at helping people. That started about a month ago. Now, as it turns out, I know a lot about the subject. The problem is that sometimes there are people who find it profitable to exaggerate how much is going on. So that got in the way, and I'm worried about them. Because when people start getting real about it, that helps fight people who are lying for a living. But the idea is to get real about what's happening with scams online. That's just beginning. We are making rapid progress, and we'll have more to say at the end of this month.
So hundreds of millions of dollars sounds like just an enormous sum, incomprehensible to most people. But you can't solve every problem in the world. How do you decide not just which problems, but which part of which problems to invest in?
I find people who are good at getting something done, something that I understand, and that will put a dent in the problem and maybe grow the networks in huge ways. So I do that. And that's working out. I've committed over time to $200 million for vets and military families. And then I've committed a separate $200 million for cyber. I'm trying to help serious major donors to do their part. By that I mean people who have billions to give away.
Right.
As a nerd, I lack the communication skills to do this, so I'm the opposite of the guy.
Yeah.
But I have volunteered to the nonprofits I support to help them, and if it just means I have symbolic value, then I'll do that.
Did you found the School of Journalism at City University of New York, or you just gave the cornerstone gift for it?
At CUNY Journalism, I gave the cornerstone gift because, CUNY for a couple hundred years almost has been about economic opportunity for people who never had any. And that kind of included me as a kid, although at a different school. And I like it a lot, and CUNY Journalism is proving to be a really big success, so much so that I added a big gift to help make tuition free. They're still fundraising for that, but I feel pretty good about that. Now I bug them about how to better do audience development so everyone knows that people who've graduated from the school are making a big dent in really good journalism.
So it seems an obvious question to ask. To what extent did Craigslist contribute to the demise of the news business?
Well, I used to think that Craigslist had some role in the demise of news, maybe local news. But then finally, about 7 years ago, a guy named Thomas Bechtel did the detailed numerical research. And he tells me that if I think Craigslist had any effect, I'm flattering myself. He looked at the numbers going back to the 60s, and he said there's a pretty straight correlation, cause and effect, with the advent of TV news. So when local TV news became a thing, that's when newspapers started to have problems with revenue. That includes display ads and classified ads. So newspapers on a straight line down started having more and more problems. That straight line was continuous through the first 10 to 15 years of Craigslist. Newspapers got in trouble around 2008 when Facebook and Google started having big effects. So I still feel in my gut Craigslist had an effect, but the numbers, the evidence said not so much. And like the guys on the TV show CSI say, follow the evidence.
Right. Where do you think the opportunity is for journalism to make a difference these days?
Well, trustworthy journalism has big opportunities by both doing the work but then making the case that their work is trustworthy and building an audience that way. Because right now there is some trustworthy journalism, but they're not making the case, and they have to do things like just avoiding ethical breaches, like both sides of them, and they just got to keep getting the word out that they're trustworthy and they're trustworthy. They'll have to be brave enough to pick a fight with bad actors, and then they'll have to keep doing that. I'm speaking as if I know something about promotion, and I don't, but this is what I've seen has been successful. Boldness can work, and appeasement not so much.
Who's doing a good job from your perspective?
There's a new one. Who I think it's called News Items, which seems to be feisty, and it's not cheap, and yet it seems to be doing a better job than I thought. There's some that show off a lot of potential, like Puck News and Semaphore, and media-specific stuff like Reliable Sources and I think it's Status. Hope I'm not getting names wrong. Locally in New York, there's Hellgate and Gothamist and The Hustle.
Yeah.
But of the big guys, they need to be courageous.
Do you listen to podcasts?
I listen to a whole bunch of them.
What are your favorites?
My favorites, frankly, are the funny ones, like The Bugle, and Welcome to Night Vale, and the Mark Maron podcast.
Sure.
I've listened to that forever, and those are my favorites. I need more funny in my life.
Yeah. I heard you told Theo Vaughn you live downtown, but you've never been to the Comedy Cellar.
That's right. I live near the cellar, and I guess you have to reserve, and it's a 2-drink minimum. And I'm a very, very light drinker.
Yeah.
And
they have soda there. You don't have to get beer.
I could have expensive soda.
I think you can afford it, Craig.
And I really will do that sometime, but it's too convenient for my taste.
You need to be inconvenienced. You are a New Yorker at heart.
That's actually true. I feel the need that I'm thinking, why should I leave my neighborhood when everything is there?
You talk a lot. I think it's beautiful how on your website you give credit, and on these many different podcast interviews you give credit to your Sunday school teachers. You also mentioned some high school teachers that were meaningful to you.
Yeah.
Because you really seem to live your values in a way that few other very successful entrepreneurs have. How much is enough?
I only know how much is enough for myself. That's a really individual value. And so I've said it for myself. Everyone has to decide how many nice things they want and then hopefully stop. But my Hebrew school teachers did set my values. They were adjusted politically by my high school U.S. history and U.S. civics teacher, modified slightly by William F. Buckley Jr., because my high school history teacher in 1970 took me to recording of Fireline by
No
William
kidding.
F. Buckley Jr. And at that point, I was flirting a little bit with libertarianism, and it had an effect on me, but I realized it didn't match real human behavior. It didn't match the real values of the Bible, old and new.
How didn't it match human behavior?
Well, people rely on each other for progress, and I do believe everyone should give other people a hand.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that we are a brothers or sisters keeper, and libertarianism didn't match that. The values, though, in our Constitution and in the Bill of Rights in particular, as amended, those good American values, those work for me, and that's what I've adhered to for over 50 years, because my heavy instruction was in 1970.
Do people try to put you into a box politically?
They do, and they nearly always get it wrong.
Well, it seems that, I mean, you talk a lot about democratic principles, small d, and about helping others. That would sort of align more traditionally with a progressive mindset. But you also talk about strong security and helping veterans, and William F. Buckley, that might line more conservative.
Well, the traditional views, I guess, are bullshit. Traditional values out of the Bible are about helping other people.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, also, I do believe in private property. I do believe everyone's home is their castle. And there are no or a few consistent political labels for that kind of stuff. So I seriously do call bullshit. And that does get me in trouble. And right now, I got to focus on areas where I can do some good.
Yeah.
So I've met politicians, some of whom are trying really hard to do the right thing, and I'm very nice to them. And then I go back and focus on what I can do that's really good. And they're all pretty supportive, particularly since my big interest areas, cybersecurity, military families, and vets. And some of these politicians are strongly supportive. Some are half-hearted, but sometimes when they realize that good things can be done in small ways, and then they're a little bit supportive.
Yeah. What would you like to, what is the metric or hope you have in working with veterans families?
What I want is that it becomes normal for regular Americans to play some role in helping out vets or families. It starts with showing respect, the kind of respect that we showed vets and military families after 9/11, but that's faded. And then we got to fund those things which help vets and families. Right now, like military families have to be paid enough, for example, to get good child care. Vets, when they come back injured, we need to provide serious support for that. And right now, it's still a little bit iffy.
Did you have vets in your family, or what was the connection that made you see this as a big priority for you?
The connection, well, my dad fought in World War II. He fought behind a desk in the Pacific. Of course, I fight behind a desk now doing cyber work.
Sure.
My mom, seeking to play her part, she learned bookkeeping to, I guess, take over the bookkeeping for the company because that guy wanted to pick up a rifle and fight overseas. So growing up in the 50s, because I'm that old, I learned what they did. I learned that everyone played their part in World War II, so I should do so. But also, I grew up in Morristown, New Jersey, where Washington and the Continental Army spent a couple really rough summers. So the War of Independence, the Revolutionary War, was everywhere in town, and you realize that you have a duty when you see that growing up for 18 years. In my last years, Washington's headquarters was more or less across the street from where I grew up. At least grew up in my teens. So I figure there's this thing called patriotism. The idea, the word has taken some damage, but it's going to come back if it means I have to repeat it incessantly.
You lost your father when you were 12 or 13?
13.
How did that affect your worldview?
I don't know. I think it may have done me some damage in terms of socialization. I may have ingrown. I don't really know. That would require a lot of therapy that I don't have the time for.
Right. If you were 22 today, what would you be focused on?
I would probably do something that I gave up on, go into AI seriously for things like natural language understanding. I might go back to something I really wanted to do, quantum physics, but I wasn't smart enough then, and I'm not smart enough now, I'm pretty sure.
What did you study?
I, started studying AI in, around 1973.
What was AI? What did AI mean in 1973?
Well, among other things, it meant looking at neural networks, which are the basis for all the generative AI stuff we see now. But that would have been 30 to 40 years premature in the sense that there's no jobs. So I started going into systems programming and a little bit into computer security, and that worked out really well for me.
What's your take on AI? Is it going to cure disease or make us all subjects to their digital overlords?
I think it's going to do a lot of good in specific areas. But when it comes to AI search, garbage in means garbage out. People are training large language models carelessly, where they're training them on known misinformation sources, like, let's say, the Communist Party Daily out of Beijing. And that means large language models are going to have a lot of misinformation. They're going to pass it on to people. People are going to get hurt. And the lawyers are now making a fuss about this because they see a lot of liability law opportunities. See, I started thinking about this about a year ago, but I kept my mouth shut, thinking, let's see what happens with the lawyers, because when they start making a fuss and start suing people, then we're going to have problems, and they've just started suing people.
Should AI be regulated? If so, by whom and to what degree?
I don't know, because my natural bias is towards self-regulation. And the only thing I think of is what happens if a chat system gets someone hurt and the people behind the chat system were told, hey, this thing is going to get someone hurt. Here's why. Please take a good faith look at fixing it. And at that point, my knowledge ends, and you got to talk to a lawyer to think about that.
Okay, let's play word association real quick.
Oh, sure.
I'll throw in this. This is the therapy part of it, so there'll be no extra charge for it. I'll throw out a word. You tell me what you think. Billionaires.
They need to find better uses for their money.
China.
The Chinese military and the Chinese Communist Party are at war with us.
Sam Altman.
I'd like to talk with them sometime.
Facebook.
They do have some really good people working on abuse situations there.
All right, now is the quiz time. And I warned you earlier, and I know you're not in active management at Craigslist, but I just want to see if Google has it right, okay? So I searched on Google top 5 Craigslist searches. Let's see if you can guess number 5 is. Categories.
Okay, apartments.
That would be number 2, according to Google.
Okay. What's next?
Sorry. What number 5? Go throw. You've listed one of the 5. Yes.
Jobs.
That's number 1.
Furniture.
4.
Events.
That's not on the list.
Misconnections.
Oh no! But I'd forgotten about misconnections until I started listening to some of the past interviews. That's a good one.
Cars.
Yes, that's it. So we have number 5, electronics. Number 4, furniture. Oh, I didn't say electronics, but electronics.
Electronics.
There you go. Electronics, furniture, cars / trucks, housing, and jobs.
Yeah. And that's the stuff of life, of getting through the day.
Right. That's interesting. Craig, it's been a real pleasure to talk to you and to get to know a little bit more about your story. Thank you for putting your wealth to use for the rest of the world.
It's my pleasure. And like the Batman would say, I'm probably not the nerd you want, but I'm the nerd you got.
If you want to find out more about Craig and his work at Craig Newmark Philanthropies, there's a website.
Yes.
And it's called CraigNewmarkPhilanthropies.com, if I'm not wrong.
.org.
.org.
Or for short, CraigNewmark.org.
CraigNewmark.org. We will put a link to that in the show notes. Craig, thanks again.
It's my pleasure.